I think it's harder to say no to feeling depleted. Like, you know what I mean? Feeling good and feeling energized and feeling peaceful. Like when you start looking at it like that, you're like, I'm not willing to say no to those things. Like those are the things I desire for myself more than anything else.
Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered. I'm your host, Lindsie, and today's conversation is such an important one because we're not just talking about PCOS. We're talking about what happens when your body is trying to get your attention and no one is really listening. Today, I'm joined by Bianca Deluco, whose journey is one that so many women will recognize. Years of symptoms, being dismissed, being told everything is normal, and having to advocate for herself over and over again just to get answers. In fact, it took her 13 years to receive a diagnosis. But what makes this conversation so powerful is where it goes next. Bianca brings such a beautiful perspective through her work in mind, body, spirit healing, and we really dive into the deeper layers of what's actually going on beneath the surface, not just physically, but emotionally and energetically as well. In this episode, we talk about the gaps in women's healthcare and why so many women feel dismissed, the connection between stress, the nervous system, and hormone health, what polyvagal theory actually is in a way that finally makes sense, how your daily habits like sleep, movement, and even your phone impact your healing, and how to start shifting out of a survival mode and into a place where your body can actually begin to heal. This conversation is going to help you understand your body on a completely different level, and more importantly, give you tools to start supporting it in a way that actually works. As a reminder, the content shared on PCOS Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are not intended to serve as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. The information shared is based on personal experience and expert interviews and is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Now, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Bianca Deluco. You mentioned polyvagal theory. So I want to hear more about that. I want our listeners to hear more about that. So can you explain, kind of what that is and the three nervous system states that, that play a role in that, and then how you see that showing up for women, whether that's, the women that you see in your studio, women with PCOS, for yourself, all of that.
So since I got started writing yoga 10 years ago, nervous system is always something that's been like kind of quietly discussed in the background, but it's not been like the forefront of conversations, right? We'd hear a lot of conversations around like your fight or flight, and then later your freeze and fawn, right? Like started getting added into the conversation versus the rest and digest state, right? So there'd be like a lot of times where I'm like welcoming people to a sound bath, and I'm like, yeah, the sound bath helps because it brings you into your rest and digest state. And people are like, great, what the heck does that mean? Like, why should I care? I didn't even eat. Like, why do I need to digest? Like, what does this mean? So the typical or like original kind of nervous system perspective was that there was like basically those two states, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, right? And so you're either in the rest and digest or you're in that activated state. Polyvagal theory went like a step further to divide it into three different states. Basically, we have the first state, and I'm going to use non-scientific terms for those of us who are like not fully ready for a full conversation on this. But you have your green state, right? Your green state is where you're social, you're sleeping optimally, your digestion is optimal, everything is functioning optimally, right? So we had that conversation about normal range versus optimal. This is where everything is optimal. And ideally, we are spending the majority of our time in this optimal state. Most of us are not, because of our fast-paced lifestyle, because we're spending so much time on our devices, because we're eating ultra-processed food, because we're not moving our bodies enough, because we have more stress than historically we've had, because we're exposed to so much in media, because we could go on, like the list could go on and on, but we're not spending the majority of our time there. So from the green zone, you can enter into the yellow zone. And the yellow zone is where we are activated and we're aroused. So things like stress and anxiety are like in that yellow zone. So it's like when life is very chaotic and very stressful, you're in this yellow zone. Now, that doesn't mean that there's anything bad or wrong with the yellow zone, right? Exercise is a form of stress on the body. It will bring you out of the green zone to the yellow zone. The idea, though, is that we spend the majority of our time in the green zone and we're able to go in and out of the yellow zone freely. The problem happens when we're spending the majority of our time in that yellow zone and getting stuck in that yellow zone and not entering back into the green zone, right? Like, take exercise, a healthy form of stress, for example. You would ideally go into that for 30 minutes, an hour, however much time you're exercising. And then after it, your body would self-regulate and you go back to the green zone. Most of us, because we're like chronically stressed, are staying in that yellow zone, no matter what we're doing, exercising or not, staying in that yellow zone. We're not ever spending much time in the green zone. From the yellow zone, there's then the red zone. And the red zone is where we become shut down. We're depressed, we're dissociated, and that happens as a result of too much yellow zone. So if you are somebody who is like every day after work, just like watches endless Netflix, is like just drowning in that like distraction, or just like is scrolling on your phone and like people are talking to you, but you're not really like understanding the conversation, or you're like agreeing to stuff kind of like passively, like, do you have a good day today? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, without like really being present, or feeling like life is controlling you versus you being in control of your life, kind of thing. For a lot of years, I was in that red zone, right? Like, spending endless amount of time on my phone, spending endless amount of time on my couch, like not connected to the people in my life. Like, my best friends would be like, hey, let's hang out. And I was like, not interested, right? So very, very dissociated and shut down. That is a sign that you can almost think of it like a bucket, right? Your capacity is like a bucket. And as you add different stressors to it, you can have a little bit of stress and still be in that green zone. As you add more, you drop down into that yellow zone. And as you add even more, you drop down into that red zone. And so it's like you're constantly going between states. Ideally, you're staying between the green and the yellow, but I'm finding more and more people are staying between that yellow and that red zone and not spending much time in the green zone. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. It's like a stoplight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then I would assume, the red is probably when you really, like, a lot of the disease states would, like yellow, you might start seeing some symptoms of things, where red would probably be like, yeah, like something is really, really happening in the body.
I think both, yes.
Mhm.
Right. Like, you can tell when you're feeling stressed, right? You might get a headache, you might feel tension in your neck and shoulders. You might, if you're feeling anxious, feel like kind of nauseous, or right. Like, we notice our body responding to this stress response. And then the more of that stress response you have in your body, the more your body is going to respond negatively, right? Like, the mind and the
Yeah.
body are so deeply connected. And so anytime we're trying to like, I tried approaches of like treating like anxiety or depression just from like a mental health standpoint. But it's like, okay, but if you're still not moving your body and you're still not socializing with people and you're still
Mhm.
not eating nutritionally, like, that mental state's not going to change much. And I think too, from a physical health perspective, right? We talked about like PCOS and weight, for example, right? And I'm like, my weight is kind of stable right now, much is changing, but it's like, if you're mentally and emotionally not processing things, your body's holding on to them in different ways. So it's like, it's all so deeply interlaced and connected. You can't do one without the other. It would be like, I don't know, if you had a car and like the engine wasn't running, but the transmission was, like,
Yeah.
you kind of need both of these to function. It's not like an
Yeah.
either situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I've used that analogy before. Otherwise you get a check engine light, right? If something is off. And then yeah, it may not start at all. And that
I
could
really like these
be
traffic comparisons. They're making a lot of sense. Right. So, right, like that yellow zone check engine light comes on,
Mhm.
and then the red zone, the car won't start. Right.
Yeah.
Like so, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I love that, especially because I talk a lot about the rest and digest and fight or flight. But like one thing I've learned, my personal journey, and then just with my coaching practice, is the body has to feel safe. It has to feel relaxed in order to do, to whether that's lose weight, to heal, whatever symptoms or, diagnosis or whatever it might be, right? It has to be in that rest and digest um, phase in order to do that, because otherwise our body prioritizes the wrong things when we're constantly stressed out and in that fight or flight, stage all the time. But I love that yellow in between there because it makes sense. Yes, there's going to be times where life happens but you kind of learn how to deal with it. And when you don't have the compounded stressors, I would imagine too, that's where you can then flip back to the green, you know, to the green state too.
Yeah. So there's actually three things that contribute to the nervous system state that we're in. And
Mm-hmm.
learning this was like a big like polyvagal theory in itself was like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. Like, and the interesting thing too is like you don't go from red to green. So if you start doing things to like support yourself, you're not going to go from red to green. You always have to pass through yellow. So whether you're going from green to red or red to green, you're always passing through that yellow state. So that's either a sign that things are improving or a sign that things are starting to go wrong. So if you are someone who is in that like dissociated state and you're like feeling like really numbed out and like disconnected from life, and then all of a sudden you start feeling like really stressed and anxious all the time, and you're like, well, I feel just as bad or maybe even worse, like depending on how you like connect to those emotions, like that's actually a sign you're like moving out of that numbed state into an activated state. And from an activated state, you can then go to a regulated state. So don't feel like if you are making that progress that it's like bad progress, because like even though you're not feeling great yet, you're still like moving up. It's like a ladder. You climb up and down and you can't just like skip steps. So
Yeah.
three things that contribute it's kind of an equation. So the first part is past stressors. So things like childhood trauma, growing up in poverty, if you've experienced things like racism or sexism, that could all be in that. Any form of abuse, domestic violence, living in a household that's like constantly explosive where you have to walk on eggshells, like anything. A teacher in first grade that constantly humiliated you and made you feel like you were stupid. Like any type of past stressors is the first part. Which I think is kind of discouraging because you're like, what the heck? I can't change that. Like is what it is. It's already happened, right? So it's our past stressors in conjunction with our current stressors, right? So our jobs, our families, the state of the world, your health journey can be really stressful. Maintaining a household, raising kids can be stressful. Like there's like infinite stressors that we're constantly experiencing. So those two things, minus the quality of your coping skills, right? So there's lots of different coping skills. Netflix binges are a coping skill. Food binges are a coping skill. Alcohol, drugs, coping skills, but they are not high quality coping skills, right? So if you have a lot of past stress and a lot of current stress, that means your stress bucket is really, really full, right? And then if you have low quality coping skills, they're not deducting anything from that stress bucket. And in some cases are contributing to that stress bucket, right? That blue light from those devices, the alcohol, poisoning, adding toxicity to your body, right? Like those things can be adding stress versus actually like removing it. So when I first learned about it, everyone was talking about minus coping skills. I was like, no, it's minus the quality of your coping skills. The quality is essential, right? So I think a lot of us are coping in ways that are not serving us, right? So high quality coping skills can be anything from exercise and nutrition to a therapist to breath work and yoga, meditation, EFT tapping, like literally any of those things. And that's what determines your nervous system state. So for me personally, I had a lot of stressors growing up as a kid, plus a lot of stressors as an adult, and virtually like no coping skills at all. So that's where I was spending like 99% of my time in that red zone. And sometimes visiting the yellow zone on a good day. But then and you can somewhat control your current stressors, right? Like you can look around and say, hey, this one friendship I have is always like really negative and isn't like supporting me, or hey, consuming this much media isn't doing great for me, or hey, this constantly volunteering for my kids' PTO is like really draining me. So there's some stressors that we can like look at and eliminate. You're obviously not going to eliminate your job. You're not going to eliminate your laundry. You're not going to eliminate your children. You know what I mean? Like there's some stressors that are just inevitable that we're not able to like get rid of. So I think first taking a good look at like what are all of the stressors that are like adding to my stress bucket. what things can I remove completely? What things can I set better boundaries around? And what things do I have to keep and just learn to like navigate, right? And then from there, the one that we're truly in control of is those coping skills. So then looking at, well, how am I coping with the stress in my life? Is it wine every day after work? Because if so, maybe that's not supporting me as fully as it could. And I'm not like demonizing these things or saying that you like should never ever drink wine again if you like love wine. But just thinking about like how frequently we're participating in that and like how that's either adding to our stress bucket or subtracting from our stress bucket. So that's where I started doing a lot of different things. Because for me, I was never really alcohol, but it was a lot of like coping through food. It was a lot of coping through just dissociation, whether that was on my phone or TV or like whatever. And now it's like a lot of journaling, a lot more breathing, a lot more walking, a lot more exercise. And yeah, I will say that I spend, I wouldn't say I never enter the red zone because there are definitely days that I do. And I wouldn't say that I spend 100% of my time in that green zone, but I spend significantly more time in that green zone than I ever historically did before, right? Enjoying hobbies like gardening or, you know, like being creative or spending time with friends, something that like when I was in that red zone, I was completely resistant to it. Wouldn't even text back at certain things. So yeah, super. Yeah, it's been life changing for me, honestly, learning how to like self regulate and yeah.
I mean, and I think too, you know, that's part of your journey, and that people need to understand it's not linear, right? There's, you know, it's all over the place. And so like you said, you know, you're still spending some time in the red zone even. Eventually, probably, you know, hopefully you'll get to where you spend even more in the green, right?
Yeah. I will
But
say
it
that,
takes time
yeah,
to get there.
it
Yeah.
absolutely takes time. Just like a full picture of like this whole process, right? It was years in the red zone, like years and years and years in the red zone. And then I started feeling like a little bit better, right? Started to enter into that, I say better, started to actually feel, right? Going from like numb, not feeling anything to feeling like stressed or anxious or like uncertain or like overwhelmed or whatever. And then I would like promise myself. And like now that we're like not depressed, and for me, the language was depression versus anxiety, right? It was before I learned about red, yellow, and green zones. And then I would like on a Saturday be like stuck in bed all day, like totally depleted, just like vegging out. I would get so mad at myself and be like, we said we weren't going to do this again. Like, you know, like really beat myself up over it. And the more I was like beating myself up over it, I was adding to that stress bucket, right? Unknowingly, which was like causing me to go into a downward spiral where I was not adding lavender to the thing and I was not moving my body and I was not eating that well because like that shame spiral really just causes us to make some really poor choices. And then I got to this point where I was like, okay, so if on Saturdays I need to not be super productive, I've worked a lot through the week. I need this to be a day where I can not be as productive as I want to be, right? Not be as, like, whatever. Like, that's okay. And I'm going to accept that this is where I'm at and let myself, you know, be where I need to be. And then so through that, like, acceptance too, also created more space for more compassion for myself and more regulation and leaning even further into the things that were supporting me. So I think if we're like beating ourselves up constantly and like, oh, I didn't walk again today, even though I really thought I was going to, or like whatever stories we're telling ourselves, like that just contributes to like that, like a stressor that just contributes to all the things we're trying to like avoid. So it's like the more you can like almost talk to yourself as if you're a friend. I know we hear this a lot in like healing spaces, like, oh, how can you talk to yourself as you would, you know, give advice that you're giving to a friend? That truly has been like very transformational for me. Like if my best friend was like struggling with all of these things, like what would my conversation with her be like? How would I support her in like making the choice that would be best for herself versus like continuing to go down this like negative path? So
yeah. And going back to even what you were saying about like, you know, the stressors with like family members or saying yes to these things, you know, all the time. So whether that's internally or externally, with other people, you have to give yourself permission to, to say no and to know your boundaries and understand what your body truly needs and not feel bad for that. And, maybe it's going to be hard. It might be hard, but you might have to remove some of those, not remove completely, but like, you know, decrease the time that you spend with some of those people in your life that are just creating more stress, or those activities, that you're doing that you realize now are creating more stress, along the way.
It's funny. I thrive on like mantras. Like they've really helped me like change my mindset and like perspective on things. And so like some of the mantras that I like developed through that time period that were like really transformational for me is like, one, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? So when you say yes to that volunteer opportunity, you're saying no to your relaxation. You're saying no to your peace. You're saying no to your well-being. You're saying like, so when you look at it in that way as like an exchange, it's like, okay, when I say yes to these things, what is it that I'm actually saying no to? And I think it's harder to say no to feeling depleted, like, you know what I mean? Feeling good and feeling energized and feeling peaceful. Like when you start looking at it like that, you're like, I'm not willing to say no to those things. Like those are the things I desire for myself more than anything else. Like I'm not willing to say yes at the certain things at the expense of saying no to these things. The other thing that this one I think is so funny. But everyone always says like, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. But I'm like, no, but we're constantly pouring from empty cups. Like I get up, like we get up every day and pour from empty cups. Like we've proven again and again that as women, when we are depleted, we're still taking care of our children. We're still taking care of our household. We're still, you know what I mean? Like we have proven that that's not true. So what I started saying instead was you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And that one was like just severe enough for me to go, maybe I don't want to keep setting myself on fire. Like, it was like, I don't know, just this idea. It was radical enough for me that like the cup theory, I was like, nah, I can pour from an empty cup. Like, let me show you. Let me roll up my sleeves. I can do this. But like setting myself on fire, I'm like, oh, that actually sounds horrible. Maybe I should not do that.
Yeah.
So there was a third one I can't remember. But oh, you said hard. You said it might be hard to set these boundaries. It might be hard to say no. You're right. It is hard to set boundaries. It's hard to have difficult conversations. It's hard to remove things from our life that were once easy habits. But it's also hard living in a stressed state. It's also hard being dissociated. It's also hard not being taken care of. Like we are constantly faced with hard decisions, and you have to decide which version of hard you want to live with, right? It is hard to go to the gym and work out and, maintain an active lifestyle. It's also hard having joints that don't work or muscles that are easy to be pulled because they're not strong. And it's hard preparing healthy meals and, saying no to foods that maybe don't serve you. But it's also hard feeling like crap when you eat like things that don't serve you. So like it's all going to be hard. It's like which hard is like the hard you want to live with. So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of we all know, right? We know what we're supposed to do regarding sleep. We know what we're supposed to do regarding diet and exercise. Like we know this. We have this information. Nothing we've really talked about is too new or like expansional or like whatever. It's like I think really changing our mindset around those things that's really pivotal and actually making forward progress in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that. Love the mantra too. You have a very good point there. So as we kind of start wrapping up, if someone listening is stuck in that, that red state, maybe even a lot more yellow, stuck in that stress mode, what are your favorite tools for self-regulation that they could start using today?
So there are infinite tools, right? Like spending time in nature could be great for you. Running could be great for you. I will say that the tools that are best for me are not the tools that are going to be best for you, right? Like there are, if you are, I don't know, it in the same way that we all like different foods, there's all different things that will serve us differently. So I think it's important to have like a wide variety of tools to explore to find out like, okay, this one really works for me and this one really doesn't. For me personally, I love like yogic kind of breath work, not like the somatic breath work that's like very trendy right now where people are like breathing really deep and forcefully to like bring up emotions. I know that that serves some people. That is not personally for me. I think it's more activating than it is regulating. And so it's not something I typically dabble in. But like things like square breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, even just deep belly breaths. I love breathing specifically because unlike a yoga practice or like you don't need a journal or a mat or an instructor or an hour or like whatever. It's something like very user friendly. It's literally the one tool that's always with you that whether you're
Yes.
at a holiday dinner or you're in a work meeting or you're in line at traffic, like it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. It's the one resource you can always tap into to help create change in your body. There's a Going back to that like polyvagal theory and like the vagus nerve, like anytime your exhalation is longer than your inhalation, you're activating the vagus nerve, which helps bring us out of those activated states into a more regulated state. So really super simple. You can do it anytime, anywhere, like just fully. I will say when it comes to like the mental stress and like the mental load and carrying the weight of everything that's going on and constantly go, I have to do this and I have to go here and I can't forget this and journaling is like the number one thing that helps like clear my mind, right? Like people like love meditation, right? If I sit in meditation, those thoughts are just like like a little pinball machine. But I love to actually journal, get it all out on paper, and then sit, because then it's like then you have the space to like just be like knowing that it's all held somewhere else. When it comes to feelings of like anxiety specifically, EFT tapping has helped me unlike anything else. Like I've been teaching yoga for 10 years, more than yoga, more than breath work, more than meditation, more than journaling, more than anything I've done. EFT tapping has been incredible for anxiety. Like I said, there's like a billion different tools, but those are just the ones that I truly love the most and that served me the most. So, but again, I think it's important for people to go to a yoga class and take a breathwork class and take a medication class and download Insight Timer and you know what I mean? Like try journaling, do all of the things, because you'll start to notice one, what works for you doesn't work for me. What works for me doesn't work for you. And two, that different things work for different things, right? Like I said, EFT, my go-to for anxiety. I don't even waste my time with the other things versus like, if I'm feeling low energy, I might do something like I love to swim. If I'm feeling like really depressed, dissociated, numb, anything like that. Cold exposure was really, really helpful for me in that time. Like I was in a place where I was like completely numb and shut down. So activating was important. Then when I got to a place where I was more in like an overwhelmed, stress, anxiety state, I found cold exposure too activating and something I did not want to participate anymore. I think a lot of it comes down to being intuitive and listening to your own self and like, one, where do you feel called? Like if you keep feeling like, oh, I just feel like I need to sit and quiet. Like I feel like I just need to like journal. Like I get these itches to like start doing something, right? And like that's how I know that that's what I'm meant to do next. And so I think one, listening to that, and then two, like noticing how you feel before, during, and after those things, and like leaning into the ones that are good, and the ones that aren't good, just you don't have to do all of them. You don't have to have a 90-minute morning routine that includes all of the things. Like you don't. You just have to find what specifically works for you. So it takes a little practice. It takes a little troubleshooting, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are great. Love it. Well, last question is how can somebody find you and connect with you?
Yeah. So my website, biancadeluco.com. It's just my first and last name. I'm on Instagram at Bianca Deluco. Facebook, I think, is actually Bianca M. Deluco. I think my personal page was was taken by Bianca Deluco, so I had to add an initial. And then YouTube, you guessed it, Bianca Deluco. So if
Awesome.
you search my name, it'll all kind of come up there. So yeah.
Awesome. I'll link everything in the show notes too. But well, thank you. I mean, I still learn, as I have more conversations. So I loved hearing about, those different the red, yellow, and green states and polyvagal theory. I think, yeah, I think a lot of people can get a lot from that and from our conversation. So I thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate you opening the space and allowing me to come here. For any of your listeners that are looking for a space to develop some self-regulation tools and explore some different things, I do have a program online called Inner Healer. That is the introductory workshop is actually a lot of the things we talked about today. So they could watch it if they wanted. They could skip over that part. But then it's 30 days of different tools, different breathing exercises, different EFT tapping scripts, different things that we didn't, discuss here at all. So it's an opportunity to try a variety of different things, notice how how you respond to those things, and get clear on what quality coping skills will actually help deduct from your stress bucket moving forward. So that's available too for anybody that is really feeling called to do that. So
awesome. Yeah. Like I said, we'll link that all in the notes too. But thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. Healing isn't just about what you're doing. It's about the state your body is in while you're doing it. Because you can be eating the right foods, taking the supplements, doing all the things, but if your body is stuck in stress, in survival mode, in that constant fight or flight, it's going to feel like nothing is working. And that's why this work matters. Learning how to regulate your nervous system, learning how to listen to your body, learning how to support yourself in a way that actually feels sustainable. That's where real change starts to happen. And like Bianca said, this isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about finding what works for you and building from there. So maybe today, your step is simple. Take a few deep breaths, go for a walk, put your phone down before bed, or just get curious about what your body is trying to tell you. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to start paying attention. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up next. Share this with someone who might be stuck in that stress cycle, and leave a review so more women can find these conversations. And as always, if you're ready to go deeper into your own healing journey, you can find all the ways to work with me in the show notes. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode of PCOS Unfiltered. Nourish, heal, thrive.